Hey, it's Friday, which means you all know what it means. It means it's time to deploy. I'm joined here by Matt, and we've got a bunch of things we're going to discuss here on today's show. We're talking about things like ephemeral environments. We're going to talk about the latest version of Octopus 2025.2, which we had our release party for earlier today, and we have a whole bunch more. But first, Matt, how was your week? How did things go for you?
The week was pretty good, thanks, John. It's been another one of those busy but productive ones. Lots of exciting things in the works, work-wise. On a personal note, we've got some sickness running through both the school and the family, so that's been a
Oh,
fun
no.
week with different kids at home on different days. But hey, that's how it goes in winter down in Tassie. So
Yeah,
that's
they're
all
just
good.
vessels of illness, kids. For those who
Very much.
don't have kids, they just come home from school and they just infect the entire house. So there you go. I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully you'll get through that. So hopefully we'll have the right vitamins for your deployment needs. I don't know how to transition from that, but there you go. So let's go ahead and get into the latest news. So Matt, we've got a blog post here from Harriet, who's one of our product managers over at Octopus, entitled "Help Shape Ephemeral Environments." What's this all about?
Yeah, so this is pretty exciting. And being in the field for a long time, this was something that always came up as well. So you've got your potentially static environments like dev, test, and production, maybe a staging or a pre-production, whatever. That's all well and good. But ephemeral environments and the whole idea around them is building this quick environment that is temporary, therefore ephemeral, where you can deploy the changes to that you're working on, test that they work, and then rip and tear down that environment. So you're not disrupting those more permanent environments that you've got that might be used for longer form testing or environments like production, of course. But these are combined typically with pull requests. So the idea is that someone will open up a pull request and then automatically it will go and spin up a dedicated environment, a set of infrastructure, whatever your infrastructure might be, deploy the latest changes in that pull request out to that environment, and then leave it there for anyone to have a look at and provide feedback on. And then when the changes emerge and the pull request is removed, that environment is automatically destroyed as well. So if you're operating in cloud environments as well, this is really good for managing cost, because everything that you spin up in those cloud environments do cost $1 or $2. So making sure that they're as short-lived as possible is really cool as well. So this is something, like I say, that I struggled with in the field a lot. You'd be there building infrastructure as code and trying to tie it to pull requests and make it a homegrown solution. But this is really cool to see. So if anyone out there is working on this in Octopus and would love to see that, we want to hear from you, and we want to hear how you want these to work, what workflow they need to work for you in, and yeah, make sure to reach out to the team to make sure that you can influence the design. Because only having been here a couple of months, I can say with confidence that we do heavily rely on what our customers are doing and feeding back to shape these products. So yeah. How about yourself, John?
Yeah.
Have you come across ephemeral environments
I
much?
have, yeah. We actually use these to a certain extent quite a bit when we were building out the CLI. We would stand up these environments, do a bunch of tests, and tear them all down. Of course, we were doing this with containers, so it makes
Mhm.
life a little bit easier when you're doing it with that. But ephemeral environments can range in a lot of different ways. And so Harriet's blog post here is really highlighting the fact that we're looking for feedback from you. And this is actually on our planned roadmap. So if you check out the roadmap, you can see Harriet's also gone ahead and added this item. It's a long-standing item. It's been around since December 2022. So it's something that we've actually had on the backlog for a long, long time. And it's not until recently that we're actually now starting to get around to this. So this blog post by Harriet talks about this, and there's a form here at the bottom where you can basically express your interest for this sort of feature, which is great. I'm really, really looking forward to if and when we can have this capability, because obviously this is going to be important for a lot of developers who are using these as part of their CI/CD cycle for software development, which is fantastic. So make sure to check that out. Help shape ephemeral environments. If you're interested, make sure to check out the forum. We have another blog post here. This one's from Sean, entitled "Configuring Slack Notifications with Argo Workflow, a Learning Experience." So Sean, he is a veteran of the Octopus Deploy crew, and he hasn't had a lot of experience using CodeFresh. So he wanted to learn a little bit about it, wanted to learn a bit about Argo. And so he wrote this blog post about how he can integrate with Argo, specifically through workflows, to tie that into Slack. And so if you're at all interested about how this works underneath the covers, you can check out this blog post by Sean, which he talks about how CodeFresh has basically a couple of features that you can use, namely promotion flows, and how they have pre and post actions as part of the that notion. And so, as part of that, you can tie notifications into Slack with this, so that you can get notified when a workflow kicks off and when it completes. And so, to basically teach himself by learning by doing, Sean wrote this blog post talking about how he went about doing this. I believe he did something similar with Octopus a while back when he was trying to teach himself an aspect of how Octopus works, and he integrated with Slack. So he sets it all up, gets his credentials from Vault, and then, as you can see, later on, he's performing some requests. And then down here near the bottom where the workflow template is defined, this is where he's actually submitting a request via curl, if I can find it here. Yes, via curl to Slack. And this is where he's actually posting those messages. Hey, workflow is kicked off. Hey, it's completed successfully, or it has failed. So if you're all interested in seeing an example here, a practical example of how you might tie in Argo workflows with Slack, you can check out Sean's blog post here, which is available up on the CodeFresh blog, which is fantastic. Speaking of blog posts, we have another massive blog post from Costas entitled Laser Focused Kubernetes Deployments Using Argo Rollouts and Header-Based Routing. Costas, not shy from giving us pages and pages and pages of blog posts, has written another tome, another Bible, if you will, of doing, in this case, deployments to Kubernetes via Argo rollouts, and talking about all the scenarios is with this. I won't waste our time talking about all this. Definitely something you should go check out and read if you're at all interested about utilizing header-based routing as part of your rollout strategy via Argo rollouts. Definitely something cool to check out.
One thing you
Matt, were you able to?
There is no stone left unturned by Costas. He
that's right.
Everything you need to know. So yeah,
yeah. In this case, Costas tends to not only dig up the stone, but dig well underneath it, and then just hits tree roots and just burrows down. So yeah, he's not shy away from definitely. His word counts are very high. Let's just put it that way. So
yeah,
awesome to see. I was going to ask you, Matt, if you had taken a second to check out the release party that we hosted earlier this morning. So you may have noticed that we have a new video up on our live. We had Kit, Venk, and Michelle, members of the product team, join us to talk about all kinds of new features, which are now available in Octopus 2025, .2. And you can see a summary of that up on our What's New page. So we had various members of the product team join us to talk about these features. We had Kit do demos of live Kubernetes status. We had also Venk tell us a little bit about the Terraform provider. We also showcased process templates for the first time. And we had Michelle talking about deployment freezes. You mentioned earlier before we started recording that you caught a little bit of this. I assume you didn't wake up as early as I did to catch this.
I don't think so. No, I was up relatively early, and then I started checking my socials, and I was like, "Oh, John's live. I wonder what he's doing." And that's exactly where you were. So
that's right.
I thought at least I'm not John and have to be online and presentable at that hour. So well done to you. But I haven't watched the full release party yet, but I do have it flagged in my playlist for later on today. So
awesome. Yeah, I was online. I don't know how presentable I was, but yeah, it was definitely great to see the latest and greatest features of 2025.2. Of course, we've talked about some of these, of course, in other webinars that we've done. Namely, we've talked about the Kubernetes, the Terraform provider. So we had a particular webinar about that. We've also talked about the Kubernetes Live Object Status as well in a previous webinar as well. But this was a culmination of everything that's shipped as part of 2025.2, And if you're at all interested, you can check it out over on our What's New page. As I like to tell people, make this a bookmark, if not your homepage. /What's New is everything that we've shipped, not only to cloud, but also part of every on-prem instance of Octopus. So 2025.2 is the downloadable version you can install yourself. And as you can see, we can do diffs between Kubernetes Manifest, which is kind of cool. We also highlight the fact that we have a new version of the Terraform provider. We also have a new place for it up on the Terraform registry, so take note of that. We talked a little bit about tenant variables, namely common ones to your environments. We talked a little bit some enterprise tier offerings, mainly about deployment freezes, etc. And we talked about deployment freezes in general at a project level as well. So lots and lots of features we have in 2025.2, which is fantastic. So
yeah, we still have a lot of customers as well that I've found out in the last couple of weeks that are running the on-premises version of Octopus Deploy. So I love that there's the written version here on the new features page that you can go and see. Or if you like to listen and watch and see what's new, that's where the release party comes in. So whatever modality you prefer, it's there for you to consume. So
Yeah, we're trying our best to make it consumable, either in video or written form. It really depends on kind of how you digest your information. Another way to do that is through a newsletter. So this is the latest version of our newsletter. This is up on LinkedIn. We ship this via email as well, but some folks like to read it via LinkedIn. So there you go. So we highlighted in the latest newsletter the 2025.2 release, talked about all the latest and greatest features there, which are summarized there. We even highlighted the ephemeral environments post, which was by Harriet. And we also mentioned the state of GitOps report. Yay, which we've actually seen a lot of traction about. We've had hundreds of people download this, which is fantastic. We talked about this during the last episode of Deploy on Friday. We had a webinar about it as well. This, you were obviously a contributor to this. You've been obviously excited, Matt, to see the downloads and the excitement around this.
Yeah, this is really cool to finally see this out. I know people have seen us tease about it and talk about it on the socials and Deploy on Friday and some other shows as well. So it's really cool to see this. I was a minor contributor. I won't take too much credit. Steve did a lot of the work here, and I just love this report because there's so many tangible findings that have data behind them, and it almost gives you the information that you need to look at the practices of GitOps and then take that to your organization. We've got some tools out now that can help you do some benchmarking of where you're at. And Steve is just working right now on a GitOps maturity model. I don't know if it's actually released yet. Maybe something to talk about next week that we can show off, and that will give readers a very practical, almost step-by-step of what to focus on when maturing your GitOps model after you've sort of benchmarked your own organization. So, and that all came out of this GitOps report. So yeah, really cool to see this one now come to life, and it's out there available for you to go and download and read and have a look at as well.
Very nice. We went on to go and mention, obviously, Azure Private Link for Octopus Cloud as well in the newsletter, and of course, our integration with Datadog. So all these and more you will find in the newsletter. Make sure you check it out up on the LinkedIn for the account, which is Octopus Deploy, or you can subscribe to the newsletter via email. We just mentioned Steve earlier, who happens to be at PlatformCon. So Steve and friends over at PlatformCon having a good time there. These are some of the photos from the event itself. And so I'd imagine Steve will share with us all of the great things that he had going on there. And then finally, wrapping up the news, we actually have a webinar on July 17th. This is going to be with Dan and Bob, and they're going to be over on the New Stack, and they're going to be talking about the report itself, the key findings, and what they mean to you. So if you're wanting to get Bob, the inside skinny from Bob and Dan talking about the state of GitOps report, you can go ahead and join the legendary Chris Perlow of the New Stack, talking to him about all the things that were found in the report itself. This is over at the New Stack. You can register for that as well. And now it is time. I know you were waiting for this, Matt, for everyone's favorite segment, Support on Friday. All right, this is the part of the show where we talk about a message that has been posted. This is, of course, up on our community Slack channel, which is advice. And we've got a message here from Tom where he was basically saying how I've got my project set up and everything looks great. And I'm able to deploy in one instance for a project to any environment that I have, whether it's UAT, production, whatever. But if I go over to another one, you'll notice that the deploy buttons have disappeared, or they're not allowed. I'm not allowed to deploy to these environments. What's the deal? So Mark, who's a member of our team, has dealt with this many, many times. And his first question he asks is, what do your project's life cycles look like? So as you know, life cycles allow you to define channels as part of that. And that's essentially how we control what goes out to production. That's how you do your promotion to environments. And so you, through the life cycle itself, he's showing one example here where if you go into a process, you can take a look at the life cycle. Some people see this and they don't know what this means. Basically, these icons denote where and how you can promote to different environments. So this is controlled by the life cycle, and this is basically denoted here. And then Tom replies here. They say they both appear to use the default life cycle. So we have a conundrum here because they both appear to use the same one, but as Mark then recently points out, he says it also looks like they have more than one channel possibly. Are there other channels in play here? And he says, oh yes, there seems to be an extra one here called the primary channel. So we've discovered that there's actually another channel at play here, and it has a different life cycle in effect. And so when Tom went about and removed the primary channel and tried to deploy, it was still the deploy button to the next environment. And this is how his channels look. But then Mark went on to go say that the channel for this instance looks like it won't allow deployment to all environments. That's what the dark gray button or block means. And so if you don't want that, you have to just make sure you set up a new lifecycle for the project. And I'm not sure why the other projects would be different. It's fine. So Tom went about, changed it over to the primary lifecycle. Now it works. And so you can see now that Tom is able to deploy to any environment that he has as part of this definition. So there you go. That is the latest sort of update for our support on Friday. Don't forget, we've got all our other events coming up. Awesome stuff to mention. But as they say, that is all the news that we have for this edition of Deploy on Friday. Any final words from you, Matt, before we wrap up?
I don't think so. Just I hope that everyone out there has a great weekend and you are comfortable with deploying on Friday.
There you go. As we like to say, comfortable deploying on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, any day of the week for that matter. But anyways, that is the week that was. On behalf of Matt and myself, thank you for joining us today. Happy for your time and attention. We will see you on the next one. Happy deployments, everyone. Take care.